can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. What have I just witnessed? Do my eyes betray me? Am I hallucinating? Seeing visions? Am I asleep right now? Is this real? Where am I? Guys, that was an insane end to the Champions League phase. The final kick of the league phase, or the final header of the league phase, sees that kind of drama. Unbelievable. Benfica, Bodo, wow. Let's get into it all. Let's see who's in, who's out, and whose goalkeepers saved their seasons. First of all, Napoli crash out after losing 3-2 to Chelsea in Napoli, which ends what was a terrible campaign for the champions of Italy. And I get it, they have an injury crisis, I should say, but the worst part is looking at Antonio Conte's record in the Champions League, which is absolutely dreadful. This man has overseen 7 campaigns in the Champions League since the 2012-13 season and has been eliminated at the group stage or league phase in 4 of those 7 campaigns. The furthest he has reached is the quarterfinals. Oh, Antonio, or Tony Conte, as that's who manages his teams when they're playing in Europe. Forget Antonio, it's Tony. It really is mystifying. Well, it's confusing that it keeps happening again and again. He, of course, will point to the injuries, but the record is damning, like losing to PSV 6-2, not scoring a single goal against an Eintracht Frankfurt side that was actually giving goals away for free, second worst defense in the Champions League. I mean, there were injuries for sure, but there are also matches that Napoli should have got results from regardless of their injury situation, because it wasn't bad enough to cause them to not win. Now, a team that absolutely punched above their weight and got wins they had no business winning, but deservedly did, Bodo Glimt, who have made history by advancing to the knockout stage of the Champions League. How did they do it? Of course, you remember they defeated Man City last week. That was big for them as it gave them a chance to go through. Then this week, they go away to Atletico Madrid, a team who has a fantastic record at the Metropolitano. They won their previous 3 matches in the Champions League at the Metropolitano, beating Eintracht, Union Saint-Gilloise, and Inter Milan. Tall order for Bodo, right? Metropolitano is tough to go to in Europe. I mean, it started with Sorloth scoring against his countrymen. Had to be him, right? It had to be him. But Bodo, they weren't just sitting back and counterattack. I mean, at least not for the entirety of the match. They would have some spells where they would retain the ball fairly well, working it around the Atleti defenders. And wouldn't you know it, a nice attacking move saw them pass their way through Atleti's back line, then square to Frederik Sjoivold to make it 1-1. These guys can play. You know, it's not just counter and inshallah. They can play. Granted, they still had to do some tough defending as they have done throughout this tournament. They can defend really well. And Nikita Häkkinen was called upon often to keep the ball out. But in the second half, Bodo scored maybe the most scrambly U9-esque kick-fest goal I've seen in some time, but who cares? That ended up being the winner for Bodo, and with the stars aligning, they made it into the top 24 in 23rd. I mean, it's crazy. Last week was their first ever Champions League win in defeating Man City. Then they beat Atletico Madrid. This is why we watch, right? This is why. Unbelievable from Bodo. I mean, they have a tough task ahead, but 2 potential opponents that have shown that they are beatable. We'll get to that bracket later. On the other side of the coin in that match, Atletico Madrid fumbling what could have been a top 8 finish. Unexpected from them. You thought that this was the kind of game that they would see through. Now, speaking of injuries and the excuse of injuries that Napoli will try to use, Thomas Frank could pull that out, as well as another year, another injury crisis, and Tottenham's medical equipment needs to be investigated. And I say equipment because Thomas Frank brought in his medical team this season, who had a ton of injuries at Brentford as well. Look at this injury list for Tottenham's match away to Eintracht Frankfurt, including doubtful Palhinha. That's 15 dudes. Subtract 15 dudes from your squad. Unreal problem to have to deal with. Tottenham needs a medical revolution. There's got to be some kind of flesh-eating parasite in the water at their training center or something, because this is out of hand at this point. But they won, right? They won 2-0 in Germany, and in doing so, Spurs cemented their place in the top 8 of this competition. Pretty unbelievable from them. puts Conte's failures into perspective a bit. Mind you, Tottenham had the easier draw, the easier schedule, that's for sure, but still, you have to win those games, and they won every single one that they should have and needed to. Another team that perhaps unexpectedly found themselves in the top 8 and get a bye to the round of 16, I don't know how many people had Sporting finishing in the top 8, but they've done exactly that, finishing the campaign with 16 points, the same amount as Man City, Chelsea, and Barcelona. Sporting wrapped things up by beating Athletic Club 3-2 in Bilbao, which is a great result in itself, right? Athletic Club have been a bit up and down this competition. I mean, more down in this competition, especially across all competitions. Actually, they've been down, but they held PSG to a 0-0 in their last home match. So hey, another Portuguese side with a late winner that changed their fortunes greatly. Alisson Santos actually been linked with Napoli a bit. With that 93rd minute winner for Sporting, I mean, that is a massive achievement to finish in the top 8. So congrats to Sporting supporters out there who maybe weren't convinced by Rui Borges completely last season, but will be now, I would assume. I mean, after last week against PSG, then this week, whew. So, Club Brugge. I'm a huge fan of Club Brugge, as they did us a huge favor with their 3-0 win over Marseille. Big performance from them. They end the league phase with 2 wins in a row to put them on 10 points to go through to the playoff round again. So shout out Club Brugge. Now, when that match had wrapped, as things stood, Marseille was still through. They were still alive in this competition. In fact, Club Brugge was congratulating them for advancing on their screens in the stadium, which is a very sporting gesture, as both teams made it through. And then the Benfica match happened. Now, before this match, Benfica was virtually eliminated. I mean, there was a chance Benfica had to win at home against Real Madrid and needed about at least 5 other results to go in their favor in order for them to climb out of elimination. I didn't think it would happen. I feel like good things don't happen to us in European competitions, and it would have been par for the course as far as how the rest of our season has gone so far, crashing out of 2 cups in January, going from 2 points off the top to 10 points off the top in the league, despite being undefeated. So when you see that undefeated thing going around, just remember that. But anyway, it felt like we would be the unlucky recipients of Real Madrid continuing to find their form in their season. But honestly, things started incredibly well for Benfica. Right away, we were creating tons of chances. Real Madrid's back line was looking super frail. And like Kylian Mbappe said after the match, at halftime, Benfica should have been winning 5-1 with the chances that we had. But at that point, it was looking like we'd still get eliminated, but maybe we'd get ourselves a nice little win against the European giant as our souvenir for the Champions League season. But once again, Pavlidis and Sjelderup, who play great by the way, link up early in the second half to make it 3-1. Now, at that time, Club Brugge was only winning 2-0, so we were still getting eliminated. Mbappe pulls one back. Yeah, even further from a miracle at 3-2. It felt like that at least. But in the 79th minute of the Brugge vs Marseille match, Stankovic scores to make it 3-0. And by the time stoppage time reaches the Benfica vs Real Madrid match and Brugge vs Marseille is finished, suddenly the picture is clear. Get one more goal and Benfica could actually go through at Marseille's expense. The perfect encapsulation of the confusion is how Trubin was time wasting 1 minute, chesting the ball, then grabbing it and collapsing on it, as he still didn't know that we had a chance to advance at the time. In fact, you would have heard the fans whistling at Trubin to get him to hoof the ball forward. You had Rui Costa in the stands telling him to kick it. And then the moment happened. Orsnes standing over a free kick from wide on the flank. Trubin joins the Benfica attackers in the box as a last gasp effort. We're in the 7th minute of 5 that had been added. This is absolutely the last kick of the game, with Benfica's hopes of staying alive hinging on this. Perfect delivery from Orsnes. And then, I'll pass it off to the legend, Nuno Matos.
Alves vai bater o livre, ele vai, levantou, na área, cabeceamento, gol! Trubin! Que loucura! É por isto que o futebol é tão espetacular!
unbelievable, man. My brain was malfunctioning when it happened. I didn't quite grasp or understand it in the moment. Like, I obviously knew it had put us through, but the magnitude of that goal, the rarity of that goal. You know, Mourinho said after that match that everything in football is deja vu for him because he's seen everything. Last minute wins, losses, blowouts, world-class goals, terrible ones, and everything in between. But this, he said he hasn't seen this before. And nobody has, really. This was the first time a goalkeeper has ever scored against Real Madrid in a European competition. 5 keepers in total have scored in the Champions League, but none have scored one as important as that. I mean, respect to Provedel for his goal against Atleti to tie it in the 95th minute. That was insane back in 2023. But that was on match day 1 of the group stage. I mean, this is a moment that you even saw Courtois smiling about as he went to congratulate Trubin. Unreal moment. Absolutely one of the top moments in the Champions League in this decade. For me personally, as a Benfica supporter, the best that I've witnessed, probably, you know, since I'm not like a baby boomer, I didn't see the 1960s. So this is probably it for me as far as the highest of highs that I felt watching Benfica in the Champions League. And it's a goal that put us in 24th. Oh, man. Wow. Hey, good morning, guys. Just checking in here once again. Editor Adrian. So obviously my brain was absolutely fried last night after that happened. So there are things that I forgot to mention. Still, like buzzing off of that. Just scrolling social media, seeing all these posts and just smiling, just enjoying the most enjoyable part of this season thus far. It hasn't been a good one for us. Like I said, I think I said in the video, I did say in the video, 10 points off at the top, even though we're undefeated. So again, you see those stats about, oh, Benfica's undefeated in the league. We're 10 points off the top still. Nice to be undefeated if you're leading. Crashing out of the League Cup, out of the Taça de Portugal in January. Both cups out. So close to each other. Champions League, we lose to Juve in a match that we shouldn't have lost. And it looks like everything's dead. Now, we're through, so I'm happy. I'm very happy. And this may have, you know, changed things for Mourinho as far as how a lot of Benfiquistas see him. I was pretty much kind of indifferent to whether he stays or goes. I don't think that he's been as bad as some Benfiquistas have said. I don't think he's been as brilliant as others have said. But I think that this has at least put him in a place where both probably the club and a lot of fans will want him to stay on. Because a lot of the problems with Benfica are not his. But the fact is that this was undoubtedly the best performance that I have seen from Benfica under Mourinho. And I admit that, of course, it helps that Real Madrid's defending was absolutely atrocious. Absolutely optional defending from Real Madrid, but he did show once again his ability to analyze an opponent and exploit their weaknesses, and I don't want to discount that at all. Plus, if he can get the team playing like this regularly, which again, it helps that Real Madrid's defense is horrible and absolutely relies on Thibaut Courtois to bail them out all the time, then I would be more than happy to see Mourinho stay at Benfica. More than happy. If Benfica can play like this regularly, which how realistic is that? I don't know. But this was the best performance I've seen from them under Mourinho. Please, more of that. More of that. I hope, I mean, if we're playing against Tondela this weekend, we'll probably end up drawing that game, you know? Not because of anything to do with Mourinho and the player in the squad, whatever. Just sort of the hangover that will come from playing against Real Madrid and getting that win. But I hope that it goes in the other direction and this propels Benfica up. So yeah, there was a lot of people reaching out on social media. I really, really appreciate that, by the way. Thank you to everyone who kind of thought of me when they saw that Trubin goal go in. And a lot of you asking for a extended segment on the Benfica match. So here it is for you. Now, back to the host, Adrian. Bye. Always nice to check in with you guys. From editor Adrian here. So not only did that goal send Benfica through against all odds, but that result contributed to Real Madrid missing out on the top 8, and they may have to run it again against Benfica. We'll get to that in a sec, but let's run through the table quickly first. So at the top is Arsenal, as they had an unreal run in this edition of the Champions League. 8 wins from 8, only 4 goals conceded. Bayern, Liverpool, Spurs, Barcelona, Chelsea, Sporting, and Man City round out the rest of the top 8, so they will be heading straight to the round of 16. Their legs will thank them. Nobody wants the extra 2 matches in their schedule. Now, as mentioned, Real Madrid miss out. They're in 9th with Inter, PSG, and Newcastle behind them. The teams from 9 through 24 will all compete in the playoff round. Again, we'll get to that bracket in a second here, but near the bottom of the qualified teams, you can see that Benfica, Bodo, Karabag all sneak in, while Marseille, Pafos, Union Saint-Gilloise all miss out despite being level on points with Benfica and Bodo. Kylian Mbappe leads the way with his 13 goals in the competition from 8 appearances. Kane came the closest with a respectable 8 goals from 8 appearances. And assists, Szoboszlai is up there now after his easy assist for Salah, touching the ball for him on that free kick. Okay, the playoff bracket. The draw is on Friday, this Friday, which will confirm the paths for everyone here. But as of now, as an example, we know that, as you can see, Real Madrid will play one of Bodo or Benfica, while the other one will play against Inter Milan. One of Karabag or Monaco will play against Newcastle or PSG. Galatasaray or Brugge will play against Atletico or Juventus, and either Olympiacos or Dortmund will play against Leverkusen or Atalanta. So again, guys, Friday, we will know everything with the draw happening. Okay? Look, thanks for joining me. What a night. I wanted to record it while it was all still fresh, raw. I published a video on Mudryk recently. I'll have more videos coming at you soon. I appreciate you guys. Be well, okay? Later.